All right, so welcome to the deep dive. You guys sent us something pretty unique this time,
Yeah.
a song, and it seems to be like written by Julius Caesar.
Hmm.
And it's all about how much he loved his pet crow,
A
Nero.
crow. Wow.
Yeah. So our deep dive today isn't going to be about, you know, all the battles and the politics.
Right.
It's about this unexpected bond they had and what it can tell us about a figure, you know, that is known for power and conquest.
Yeah. You know what immediately grabs me is the intimacy of it all.
Right.
We're not talking about some historical account here. We're talking about like a direct line to Caesar's personal feelings,
Yeah.
and it makes you think, about the private world of a man who was so much in the public eye.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's take a closer look at how Caesar describes Nero's role in his life. He
Yeah.
calls him companion, feathered friend, someone who brings him delight. I mean, this is constant presence that really jumps out at me, right?
Mhm.
Together we stand. Until the end, he sings by my side, he takes flight. I mean, it just paints this picture of unwavering companionship.
It does, and phrases like "perches on my shoulder, proud and bold,"
Yeah.
or "mirrors with me through highs and lows." They really emphasize this constant, this almost symbiotic relationship, and it suggests that Nero was someone who witnessed everything. The grand victories and the quiet defeats.
Right, and Nero wasn't just like a silent observer either.
Right.
Caesar specifically mentions that he has seen the battles, the victories we've won, he says, and shared every victory and every tear. I mean, that's a profound level of shared experience with, a bird.
Yeah.
Then he even goes on to say, more than a bird, he's a piece of my heart and the friend who helped me grow. It's surprisingly emotional.
It really is. And that line, he whispers secrets in his crowish tone, while it's probably metaphorical,
Yeah.
it hints at Caesar's need for a confidant, outside of that political arena. And in a world of, constant strategy and potential betrayal, maybe a crow offered him a kind of uncomplicated companionship.
Yeah.
And that line, a loyal companion never asking why, really underscores that contrast with human relationships and power.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
now let's think about Caesar's affection for Nero. He states, Nero is second to none. I mean, for a man who commanded armies and shaped an empire,
Hmm.
I mean, that's a pretty striking sentiment.
Yes.
He even says that he shares his name in the scent or the field. It's like an almost visceral connection he's describing.
It does suggest a very deep, perhaps even spiritual connection. The repetition of their enduring bond together forever, never to part together in history side by side, Nero and Caesar forever in flight. All of these phrases reinforce how significant this relationship was in Caesar's own eyes.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really fascinating. Caesar draws this direct contrast between his public persona and this private bond he has with Nero.
Mm.
He acknowledges being seen as the leader with power and fame. But he says, Nero's the one who shares my name, mirrors with me through highs and lows. It's like, this crow saw the real him, not just the public figure.
That's exactly right. And this glimpse behind the powerful facade that we get is what makes this song so compelling.
Yeah.
The pressures of leadership, they can be immense, and finding genuine connection, even in an unexpected form like this,
Yeah.
It speaks to a very fundamental human need, and it allows us to see Caesar not just as a historical figure, but as an individual with, personal attachments.
So essentially what we're getting at here is this deep dive into Caesar's song reveals a surprising emotional landscape.
Right.
We see companionship, loyalty, and a private life that really contrasts sharply with this public image of power and conquest.
Right.
It really makes you reconsider the man behind the legend.
Yeah, what I think is particularly thought-provoking is the symbolism at play here, A Roman leader finding such solace in a crow, a creature often associated with omens and the unseen world. It raises a fundamental question, when you consider the dynamics of power and this unusual companionship. What might this unique bond truly tell us about the human need for connection and perhaps even vulnerability, regardless of one's status or even the nature of that bond?
It's fascinating. Really makes you think.
It does.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive, but as always, we encourage you to keep those questions coming, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into history's hidden corners.
See you then.